It is time to make a new video. It's been a while. It's been quite a while. It's been about 4 months, 3-4 months since I've made a video. I've just been absolutely stacked with work, so haven't been able to prioritise making any sort of video, fitness or talking like this. However, this is an important one. And I thought it deserved a video. So I thought, why not? Let's get a video on the go. This one, hopefully, is going to help a ton of people. Well, I'm pretty confident it's going to help a ton of people. So I'm going to have to tell you a story though. It might be slightly long, so please bear with me. We will get to the point and we will get to how hopefully I can fix, well, how I've fixed my own bloating and stomach issues, and hopefully how I can help you guys as well. Okay, so before I get into the video properly, it's probably worth a disclaimer so I don't get sued by anyone. I think this is the done thing. So obviously I'm not a doctor. I self-diagnosed this. The jury probably is still out because I only feel like I've been fixed for maybe a month, 2 months. However, in the UK, it is near impossible to get a GP/doctor's appointment. I'm an employer. I employ nearly 20 people and I pay a contribution towards their healthcare, the national insurance in the UK, which goes towards the healthcare system. And even I cannot get an appointment, don't get any preferential treatment. It's basically all gone to shit in the past few years with the UK's healthcare system. They're too stretched, so you can't get an appointment, hence why in this instance I've self-diagnosed, I suppose you could call it that, just determined through trial and error what my issue was and have resolved it. So if I want to try and get an appointment with the GP, well actually I don't even know how you do it anymore because the whole thing's changed. I think you go through an app now, but that is still impossible, or as impossible as picking up the phone every morning at exactly 8:30, a second later, and you just will not get an appointment because you'll be in a queue for hours. I think the app is equally as painful, so I just did not bother. Anyway, rewind, let's say 18 months probably, 12, 18 months or so, started getting a really uncomfortable feeling, almost like a bloating, kind of like down in front of my bladder, which I think is where the lower intestine sits. Again, I'm not a doctor. It happened mostly, which was weird, first thing in the morning when I woke up. Now my routine at the time was wake up, have a coffee, head to the gym, come home, have a smoothie which contained banana, oats, almond butter, whey protein. I think that was it, to be fair. So this went on for maybe 2-3 months. So I sat on it kind of silently for a few months, and then I thought, all right, I'll just mention it to the missus and see what she says. Obviously the first thing she said was, you need to book a doctor's appointment. Obviously the first thing I said was, absolutely not, because it will take me about 4 years to actually get one, hassle every morning trying to ring up, and then I'll go there and they won't diagnose me properly. So that I pushed aside. She then said, well, what are you eating? So I explained what my routine was in the morning. She said, why don't you try and cut something out of your diet? Now, again, she's not a doctor. However, she has an autoimmune condition called ankylosing spondylitis, bit of a mouthful, which was diagnosed, I think, back in 2018. And what ankylosing spondylitis does is it causes her pain and inflammation in her joints, in particularly her spine, but she was getting issues elsewhere. She got her diagnosis, like I said, maybe 2018, and since then she's been controlling the flares that she would get with her diet. So she understands a bit about what foods she can't eat, because if she eats them, they will cause her body problems. So in this instance, and I don't usually, I listened to her and I decided, right, why not cut out the coffee? Could it be the caffeine in the coffee that was causing me problems? So I cut out coffee for maybe a month and a half, and maybe as a bit of a placebo, it kind of felt like it had worked. But then I continued to get these issues. I then looked at the smoothie I was drinking. All right, what were the ingredients in the smoothie? So I had banana, oats, almond butter, whey protein. Didn't want to cut out the whey protein because this was my recovery drink after the gym. Didn't really want to cut out the oats because they were the carbs which were also going to help me recover. I kind of didn't feel like the almond butter was the issue, but again, who am I to say? So I picked the banana to cut out. Cut out the banana, started leaving the banana out of my smoothie. Fast forward a few weeks, didn't help at all. So I just cracked on as normal, waking up feeling uncomfortable and bloated. Then I started going to bed feeling uncomfortable and bloated. At other times in the day, I'd feel like it, randomly at the weekends, and there ended up being no kind of pattern towards what the hell was going on. So again, speaking to the wife, she said, why don't you go gluten-free? And I really did not want to go gluten-free because, well, it's a pain in the ass, to be fair. When you go out for meals, there's limited choice. Tastes like shit if you're having a gluten-free substitute of something. And so I decided to put that off for many months. We're talking probably 6 to 9 months, until earlier this year, in around March sort of time, I would say. Early March, I decided, right, I'm going to go gluten-free. So I cut out pasta, cut out bread, stopped eating bread entirely. I wasn't going to eat the gluten-free substitutes, and I started really looking at what the ingredients were in the foods I was eating. No wheat, no barley, all that sort of thing, and trying to actually minimise anything artificial in my diet. Again, as with cutting out the coffee and that, I kind of felt it helped initially, but in hindsight, I actually think there were some other benefits I was getting. Firstly, I got completely shredded, so I've gone down from like 14% body fat, which wasn't particularly fat, down to like 10. So my abs are completely visible now, literally at all times. So I guess that's a benefit. But secondly, I just felt lighter, obviously, probably because I lost a bit of body fat, but like just lighter inside. However, the bloating continued, or the uncomfortable feeling continued. And I was starting to go to bed feeling like this, almost feeling like I needed to go to the toilet. And it was really uncomfortable, affecting my sleep. So, sat down with the missus again and said, it's still happening? She said, right, okay, why don't you try cutting out dairy? Just literally cut everything out and then reintroduce stuff one by one and see what it is. So I decided to cut out dairy. All was good until I went to Italy to see a friend and his wife, and we stayed there for a few days and we were having a really good time. And I don't drink alcohol, so alcohol has nothing to do with this. But what I was drinking or having throughout this entire period were 0 calorie drinks. So 0 Monsters, which I actually cut out probably December last year. So actually even before I cut the gluten out. And those drinks, when I cut out 0 Monsters, I felt like I needed something else in my diet. So I was on the 0 Coke Zero. And I would have a Coke Zero or something like that, maybe once a day, once every couple of days. Sometimes I'd have like a 500ml bottle, sometimes I'd just have a can, sometimes I'd have more. If someone was going to the store at work, I'd ask them to get me a big bottle, and I might have half of that big bottle in the day. Even at the weekend, I'd have a can of Coke Zero. But anyway, when we were in Italy, where everyone else was drinking alcohol, I was consuming Coke Zeros. And there was one day in particular where I just felt like crap the whole day. Felt bloated, lethargic. It was hot anyway, and I just felt rubbish. So anyway, I just announced this to everyone. So my friend, his wife, his parents were there as well. Michelle was there, my missus, and I just said, and I said I was feeling rough, really bloated today. Michelle then starts to tell my friends about my issues and what I've done, and I've cut out gluten, which they knew about anyway because I was there, and every meal I had to be a bit picky about where we ate and what we ate. And then my friend pipes up and he's like, mate, what's the feeling like? What does it feel like? Is it like a really uncomfortable feeling down here, like almost as if you've got something like really badly terminally wrong with you? And I was like, yes, that is exactly how I'm feeling. And he said, it's the sweeteners in diet drinks. He said, you need to cut those out immediately. And to be fair, I cast my mind back now, and I remember him saying a few years ago that he was getting these issues, and he cut them out. He cut the sweeteners out, and it fixed it. So I immediately knocked the Coke Zeros on their head. No sweeteners, no aspartame, no saccharin, no whatever else. And I had been studying the ingredients on a lot of things that I was eating, as I mentioned, over the past few months anyway. So it wasn't unnatural to me to, if I was going to buy something, to pick up the packet and just look and check what was in it. Most of my foods at that point were, I'm going to call them natural, so like either fruits, veggies, or animal-based products, eggs, and meat, like steak, beef, chicken, pork, turkey, that sort of thing. So I wasn't eating a lot of artificial stuff or consuming it. The only thing really left, which my good friend advised me on, were the artificial sweeteners in these drinks. So I cut this out, and since then, no word of a lie, I have not had any issues. No issues whatsoever. When I've consciously not consumed these sweeteners. There have been 2 times when I've unconsciously or unknowingly consumed sweeteners, and it has caused me problems. One of those was when I was in a coffee shop and I saw a can of what looked to be sparkling water infused with like apple or something like that, and in it had stevia. Now I know stevia is a natural sweetener, but this gave me problems as well. So I think I've just ruined myself so much with these artificial sweeteners that any type of sweetener, maybe maybe other random things, just cause me issues now. So I consumed that drink maybe like 4 p.m. one evening, and then by about 7 p.m. I was having issues, really uncomfortable feeling in my stomach, and that lasted until like midday the following day. More recently, this past week, we were travelling to see my granddad down in Plymouth in the UK, which is quite a long drive. We just got a new Tesla and Michelle wanted to drive, so I was in the passenger seat, and I started feeling a bit rough because with the Tesla, it's got this regenerative braking, so it brakes for you. So every time she lifted her foot off the every time she lifted her foot off the accelerator, the car would slow down. It kind of feels like you get a bit seasick. So I took a travel sickness tablet. The only ones we had were kids' ones, and I didn't even think to look at the ingredients. Again, within a few hours, felt like crap, got bloated. Michelle said, I'm going to check the ingredients, saccharin in there. So I am 99.9% confident the issues I'm getting are through artificial sweeteners. Cut them out. If you're experiencing, again, bloating issues, stomach issues, not feeling great, cut out these artificial sweeteners. I know zero drinks are obviously fantastic for controlling weight. They're a great substitute if you want a can of Coke and you don't want to consume like 8 teaspoons of sugar, but you can have other drinks. You could have a kombucha, you could have a sparkling water infused with something, as long as it hasn't got any sweeteners in it. And the sweetener's not artificial, and it is the fruit that's infusing it gives the sweetness. So there are options. You've got to be disciplined, but I wanted to make this video because this has been an ongoing issue for me for, like I say, 18 months. and I finally feel like I've got to the bottom of it. It's been about 6 weeks since this kind of whole sweetener thing was determined. Like I said, I've had 2 issues since unknowingly consuming them, but when I've not been consuming these sweeteners, I've been spot on. I'm absolutely spot on now. Been spot on for the past week or so since I had that travel sickness tablet, and I feel good, generally feel good. So cut out the sweeteners. I hope this video helps someone. Sorry if it's a bit all over the place. I might do a video on my gluten-free diet, my dairy-free diet, because I've kept that up. I've not gone back to that. I don't want to be eating crap anymore. Like, you get one body, so you need to be looking after it. You need to be fueling it properly. All of this stuff, alcohol, gluten, artificial stuff, just goes completely against my lifestyle anyway, because I enjoy fitness, keeping fit, staying healthy, eating nice foods. So what's the point? Why do I need to eat them? I've managed to craft myself a diet whereby I don't need to have these foods, and I'm pretty sure most other people can too. So sweeteners, artificial sweeteners, maybe even some natural sweeteners, could be causing you your bloating issues. Cut them out. If this video helped you, leave me a comment please, and a thumbs up. Sorry it was a bit all over the place. Catch you in the next video.